ahead and call this meeting to order. This is our annual post-election reorganization meeting, so we need to swear in our newly elected candidate, Danielle, welcome, and our re-elected board member, Dan.
Any positioning you want, or are we good over here? And just one at a time this time?
How's my hair look?
Oh, perfect. Perfect as always. So I'll do you guys separately then. We had a bigger group last time. We did it all together. So if you can raise your right hand, please stand and repeat after me. I, Dan Brown,
I, Dan Brown,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont, and that I will not.
that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont,
And that I will not.
and that I will not,
Directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution of government or government
do
thereof.
any act or thing injurious
Injurious.
to the state,
The Constitution or
the
government
Constitution
thereof.
or the government thereof.
These are all.
These are These ones were easy.
So help me God, or under pains and penalties of perjury.
So help me God, under pain of penalties and perjury.
And we're only halfway there, because that was the Vermont oath. And next is the oath of office for local officials.
Okay.
I, Dan Brown,
I, Dan Brown,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute the office of select person
that I will faithfully execute the office of select person
for the town of
for
Middlebury
the town
in
of
the state of
Middlebury in the
Vermont,
state of Vermont,
and will therein do equal right and justice
and will therein do equal right and justice
to all persons to the
all
best of my
persons to the best of
judgment
my judgment
and ability,
and ability,
according to the law.
according to the law.
So help me God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury.
So help me God, under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Congratulations. Danielle, we've got to show them up.
It's not hard.
So we're starting off with the Vermont Oath of Allegiance for local officials. I, Danielle Boyce,
I, Danielle Boyce,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will be true and faithful
that I will be true and faithful
to the state of Vermont,
to the state of Vermont,
and that I will not directly or indirectly
and that I will not directly or indirectly
do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution or government thereof.
do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution
Or government
or government thereof.
So help me God, or under pains and penalties of perjury.
So help me God, or under pains or penalty of perjury.
Next, the oath of office for local officials. I, Danielle Boyce,
I, Danielle Boyce,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute the office of select person
that I will faithfully execute the office of select person
for the town of Middlebury and the state of Vermont,
for the town of Middlebury in the state of Vermont,
and will therein do equal right and justice
and will therein do equal right and justice
to all persons to the best of my judgment and ability,
to all persons to the best of my judgment and ability,
according to law.
according to law.
So help me God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury.
So help me God, or under the pains and penalty of perjury.
Oh, congratulations. I still have both of you here. That means that you just sign off on each of these oaths. So, put your signature.
Pen again?
Here you go.
Okay.
I'm right here and right here.
That spot and that spot.
We are once again a full select board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was touch and go there for a while. Only 5 members.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Congratulations.
You can do it.
Yeah.
So I will now look for a motion to elect a new select board chair.
A motion or a nomination? Nomination. Okay.
Motion to nominate.
I nominate Andy.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion.
I don't think it's second. Does it? It's a nomination. Does it need to be seconded?
Yeah.
Yeah, we vote on it. Okay.
We have a motion and a second to nominate Andy as select board chair. Any discussion?
Andy, I think you should give a pitch.
Yeah, I like Fred's idea that I want to hear something from
Wow.
from folks.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I have a different temperament than Brian. I think he was a great leader in my time here. I think I might be a little more approachable in some instances. I take this responsibility very seriously, but I don't take myself very seriously. And I think that can be a good mix. I think that can make this an approachable body and hopefully help set people at ease. I am interested in focusing on shifting away from kind of the mechanics of the town administration and really thinking about direction and strategy. As Dan was mentioning, moving the review of all of the check warrants onto the consent agenda was my idea. There was some grumbling from those who enjoyed it. You still are welcome to anytime you want, but we have professionals who are good at their jobs, who keep this town running. And our job as representatives of the citizenry is to kind of guide the ship and not necessarily to pull the oars. How's that?
Great, Andy.
Nice job.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Hi.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Hey, all right.
Great job, Andy.
Thank you. Ah, I appreciate it.
Now you can.
It's your turn.
Oh, am I in charge now?
You're in charge now.
Fantastic. I think our next piece is a nomination for vice chair.
Nominate Dan.
Fantastic.
I would like to nominate myself.
Nominations for Dan and Izzy. Any others? Hearing none. Let's have some statements, I guess, if you're so inclined.
Right, you want to go?
You go.
Okay. So I'm Izzy, and I've been in Middlebury for about 6 years and been on the select board for about 4. I think a perspective that I bring is being a young person, being a renter, being someone who's deeply involved at the local and state level in public health and economic development. Usually those two don't go together, but when I think about cute small towns, I think about how important it is to have a really diverse community, but also a really close community and a community that thrives on small business. So that is the perspective that I bring to the board, and I think being able to leverage the leadership opportunities that I've had, both through Emerge Vermont, an organization that brings women from across the state to learn how to run campaigns, win campaigns, and be on that level and in that sphere, in that world in Vermont, and then also an ongoing participant in the Vermont Leadership Institute through the Snelling Center for Government. So being able to leverage being a leader in all different entities and all different industries in Vermont and be able to get enough information to be able to have conversations about all those topics is something that I bring to the select board and want to leverage. On a personal level, I'm really passionate about being a shameless leader, being a fierce proponent for women in leadership, and I hope to be a role model for all those who are interested in joining local, state, or federal government. Thank you.
It's a tough act to follow. Nice job. I had initially intended to not run for this term. And I had several months ago had several conversations with Brian, and he was concerned about having 5 people on the board with first terms, and discussions with Andy. And I felt it important that I stay on the board to serve the community with my experience. And Since then, I've had several conversations with Andy. I think we've had Brian as our leader for I think the last 12 years, and this is our first transition into new leadership with a relatively young board. And I feel it important that and I've told Andy I would do this, to serve as the vice chair, to help support him and help him through at least the first year of his leadership. And with talking about experience, I've served on the infrastructure committee, the Ilsley 100 committee, the DIDC committee, the personnel committee. I served 9 years on the chamber. I served 2 years on the VMP. I served 9 years on the town hall theater. I've owned my own business in town. I bring a business perspective. I've been in leadership roles in national organizations such as the Professional Association of Innkeeping, where I was a vice chair for many years. I served on another national organization for innkeeping, where I was vice chair. I served on a Chamber of Commerce in Annapolis, Maryland, where I was also vice chair. I think I have lots of ideas and things I'd like to pursue to make our business make us do business a little differently than we have, which is completely in concert with Andy. And I would like to spend at least this 1 year serving as vice chair. Thank you. You didn't clap.
Well, because no one else clapped when Izzy clapped.
You clap for Izzy.
So
You
then
didn't
I
clap.
We clap for you, Jen. We clap for you.
Okay.
I feel very singled out.
All right, we've heard from the candidates. It is time to vote. Those in favor of Dan Brown for vice chair, please indicate.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry. Yes, please.
So how long, is this for 3 years?
It's 1
This
year.
is for 1 year.
It's 1 year.
For 1 year?
Yeah, we reorganize. We have this meeting every first meeting after town meeting. Of course.
Well, that's our tradition. I mean, there's nothing actually written about that. There are other towns that, Bristol, for example, has a rotating leadership.
Okay.
But they've agreed to that, and they adopt new rules every time there's a new, they could adopt new rules every time there's a new.
Well, they could, but I mean, I'm just saying, it's not, there's nothing that is written that says that it has to be for a year.
Right.
The board could decide to.
But that's been the practice though.
Yeah, right,
So
it has
we
been the
do
practice.
I wanted to make sure I knew.
every year right after the election, we have a board reorganization. We elect the chair and we elect the vice chair. Every single year we do that.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
It's a good question.
I'm sorry. Okay, very good. Are there any other comments or questions? Sorry, I didn't ask for those previously. Again, those in favor of Dan Brown for vice chair. Record 5. Those in favor of Izzy Gogarty for vice chair. Dan Brown is not
Thanks.
voted by this
Thank you.
council.
We'll find a lot of jobs for you.
Oh, yes,
Of course, for everyone. There are so many jobs available. Fantastic. We now have leadership for our select board. And now we move on to our normal business. The approval of the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Farhad and Izzy. Mark, we have a addition.
We have a last minute addition, yes, a police cruiser purchase, and we have a last minute addition to the consent agenda as well, which is the Crooked Ladle alcohol permit.
And that is already in the current online consent agenda.
Both have been added.
Both have been added.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Any changes to the agenda? All in favor of the agenda as presented?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Fantastic. Moving on, next issue is the approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening includes our prior minutes from the Charter Review Committee, Energy Committee, and Infrastructure Committee, one license for alcohol for Crooked Ladle, the approval of the check warrants, a congressionally directed spending application to Senator Welch for money for our wastewater treatment facility, acceptance of town historical photos from the Harry Sheldon Museum, and the town manager's report containing many various documents.
Just to clarify, the congressionally directed spending subject is just a letter of support, not the actual
Correct.
application.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Fred?
On the select board minutes,
Yeah.
on line 129, 130, says, Dunnington said the thought of having to set aside $325,000 a year to meet the maintenance needs is a pretty significant thing, considering there are some important decisions coming up on the wastewater project. The $325,000 was for bridge
Right.
maintenance. It has nothing to do with the wastewater.
Would you
There's
like
two
to
thoughts in one
strike
sentence there.
the second clause from that?
Well, I think it would be better to say, Dunnington said the thought of having to set aside an additional local option funding of $325,000 a year to meet the maintenance needs of the bridge is a pretty significant thing, period.
Yeah,
He also said there are some important decisions coming up on the wastewater project.
very good.
And then on the next page, line 132, he said in discussions with the Energy Committee regarding the energy use of the sludge dryer, they would like to see something electrical. I would strike the word something. They would like to see electrical rather than natural gas to reduce greenhouse gas.
Okay.
And then in line 150, Con also asked about the emergency crossing. I would just insert emergency railroad crossing with the benefit of people reading in the future going, what the heck are they talking about?
Good catch.
And then in line 156, finally, Dunnington spoke of the work that goes into creating the annual report. I'd like it to say Dunnington complimented Beth Dow and spoke of all the work that goes into creating the annual report. Beth, I know you're doing the minutes and you're modest, but
Why should you get that?
that was one of the first points I wanted to make about that. Anyway, thank you.
Sure.
Sorry.
Bringing our newest member onto the
Sorry,
town
Fred.
Wi-Fi.
Have a good
Town-
time.
it used to be, but it should, yeah, that's right. I know.
So, yeah, does anyone know the Wi-Fi?
It's town office stuff, I think.
Well, all three of these, town
The
gov,
first time you
and
log
town
on is a
guest.
little weird. I
are
remember
ours.
Drew had to do a magical thing for mine. It's town guest.
Yes,
I get, it's a town guest.
and the key?
It's town offices, capital T, capital O.
Okay,
It's a public record.
did you do
Yeah, we
capital
just
T,
shared
capital
it.
O? Okay.
Everybody get on the Wi-Fi.
That's what public, it's posted around here, it's not a huge secret. It's trying. Yeah.
There we go.
There you
Sorry,
go.
everyone.
Second time's the charm. Oh,
Right, just in case.
yeah, nice.
Come in
I
here.
have one other comment.
Yes, please.
Andy, on the congressionally directed spending letter, I think this would be stronger if it was from the board. And since the letter is written, we are solidly in support.
I'm sorry.
And with the advent of the signatures that
And you can open it up on your.
Mark can attach, I think this would be a stronger letter if the full board.
If there were 7 signatures appended to this?
I thought it was gonna be that way, but I guess it was only.
And you'll get this. and then
I
you can
I
click
just
on
want
it
to
and
give us
open
this,
if you
I
want.
don't know our prospects
So
of
you can get a reference
getting
on it.
congressionally directed funding, but I just think the full board
Sure.
signatures would
Yeah.
be a little stronger, unless there's some deadline that has to be done this evening.
We can update that tomorrow.
We'll just apply all your signatures.
Yeah, great. You'll need to capture Danielle's signature.
Yes.
I'm sure. Mark has our digital signatures available for things just like this. Fantastic. Thanks, Fred. And I think all of those are accepted without further comment.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
The historical photos, at the
Yeah.
very end of that, it said that the last photo went missing about 2 years ago. Do we know what happened to it? We still haven't found it.
No, I did walk around to count the 7, and my count matched Barbara's from the museum. And my understanding is that they are the 7 remaining photos from an exhibit in 2018. And with your approval, assuming that you accept them this evening, I'll send a letter thanking the Sheldon on your behalf.
Fantastic. That's unfortunate, huh?
I know, it's really the last photo.
It's a cool photo.
It's a cool photo.
Yeah,
That's probably why it's gone.
I'm sure.
They were
This is why we can't have nice things.
They were for sale, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, very good.
Oh, so it was maybe sold.
Or somebody just took it off the
Needed my
wall.
time, but
Okay, that was all my only question.
Very good. Any other comments, modifications? All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda, signify.
Aye.
Aye. I think that was unanimous. All right, moving on. The next item on the agenda is the citizen comments. This is a time for someone who does not have a scheduled agenda item to speak to the board about any item. Please, Laura.
I'm sorry that Karen is leaving. I'm going to compliment her on town meeting.
You can do that anyway.
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
I don't know if the board is planning on having a debriefing about town meeting. A lot of my comments really regard feedback on town meeting. I can do it now, or if you're planning that discussion another time, I could save it for that time. What would you prefer?
I think this is actually a great time. We've got a fairly light
Right.
agenda and
Here it goes,
and it's
ready?
fresh, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I heard a lot of things, like before, during, and after town meeting. So regarding the communication of town meeting, and I shared some of this with some of you, we get this little tiny postcard, that announces that we're having it. And I think we're missing an opportunity, with that little mailing, to say a little bit more. And I think we should think about that for the future. And I think anytime the town does a mailing, including property tax or whatever, or water bills, that's an opportunity to send some positive messaging.
Sure.
If you're having a town survey of some kind, let people know that. We used to have a stamp that said, "I love Middlebury," anything, because the rate is so high. Let's send some good news, and I think we can be better, creative about our communication for town meeting. The actual town meeting itself was really good, the audio was great, the live stream, is really strong. Mark's presentation was very well paced. We could hear him clearly. The visuals, the pie charts, are very helpful. It's unfortunate that we didn't see more of those pie charts in the earlier part of the process. I came to so many of those budget hearings and I was looking for that, and it would have been helpful to see more of that global view a little earlier
100%.
in those meetings. So, that would be good. And the actual handout that we had at the meeting of the budget, very tiny, right? And I know we're saving paper, but it's the first time that people are really seeing the budget. I mean, they can go online and they could look at the town report and all that documentation, but they're really not. And maybe a more useful document for town meeting is a glossary of terms that you're going to be addressing. So maybe something like that tells them what you mean by some of these things you're going to be presenting, and helps us too, right? Like you, in terms of referencing things. So that occurred to me. I also thought it's very good that we invite people to sign up for communications, and that you had a slide about that, reminding people about the text service. And I think we missed an opportunity to also remind them to sign up for the town email list, which is different. So maybe just adding that to our slides and our presentation. And again, our communications that go out, are you on our town email list? Are you getting our texts? Go to the website to figure out how to join those things. So I think that would be good. I think it's also good to get feedback from people at town poll on how we did. So we used to have the Laura poll, the town poll, which was just really a tool that we used to inform people more than to get their feedback. But there were some open-ended questions on there, do you have any general concerns? How did you feel about town meeting? And you got some interesting stuff. It's hard to read all of that, but you don't get a lot, really. People aren't filling in a lot of that, and you can you can get some really good feedback that way. That go, like that might be really good to consider for the future. So just some vehicle for inviting feedback, like I'm giving you tonight, could be really important and good to do. I think I was hoping that the department heads would give us more highlights like they did earlier, with their budget presentations.
Sure.
I think that people like to hear what's coming, like we heard from Parks and Rec that Circus Smirkus was coming, that year, but we didn't hear anything kind of like that, I don't think, a little bit, but not a lot. And I think we had the opening when Dave Silberman asked the question about public safety, and then we got the speech about, really what public safety and the police department is doing. And I thought that was a really good discussion, and I think people really appreciated that. I think it's important to just maybe build that in a little bit. It doesn't have to be a lot of time, but maybe something like that. So that was the purpose of the question that I asked.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
I think that's a great reminder, right? We're all close to the town and we know about the services and everything that's going on, but that is a time to reach a broader audience with some of that information. Talk about everything we're doing.
Yeah, so that was kind of it. It's good to welcome newcomers to town meeting and young people, which you do. And I saw lots of kids at the polls when I was there in the afternoon. It was really cool to see all these future voters coming in. Really, really wonderful. So keep up the good work. I know that there were some really good questions you'll be probably taking into your retreat, like about housing and the Cross Street Bridge and the contribution of the college, like in those things that we heard that night. I thought it was interesting that somebody asked if we have to vote every year on the tax collection times, and I wondered if that's something to take up as, do we?
Susan says legally we do. I don't know.
Well, we have a charter change
According to the charter,
going
the
in.
select board shall set the dates for tax collections, and
That's
that would
not
be
a bad
an act of
idea.
legislature, then it would supersede state law. So
Yeah.
we wouldn't have to have that article, and that would save a lot of time for department presentations.
Yeah, I would do that.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's a fun idea.
So something to think about.
Right.
Anyway, thank you, everybody. That was.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, Lou.
Yay!
Thank you, Laura.
I have a couple other things to add.
Yeah,
Can I
please.
add a few other things? And I think some of these things you mentioned to me, but one of them was that the Zoom link was kind of late getting to the website for sort of streaming the
Yes.
town meeting. And so for a note for next year is to really make sure that Zoom link is up there.
Or the live
sooner.
streaming site.
The live streaming.
Yeah.
Right, so that people can
Yeah, so,
access it.
yes, so Crystal did add it, because I noticed it was missing, because somebody asked me, for that link, which you can get if you're in the town email. But if you're not in the town email, you don't get it, right? So,
Yeah.
and it might have been on that postcard in tiny, tiny print, maybe. I don't even know if it was there, like on the postcard, but.
That's something we could make a bigger deal of on the postcard too. For accessibility, I think that's a pretty big deal, is making sure people know that they can get it through a live stream.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing, so committees like to present their work. There's mine, public health and safety, as people are coming in, and we were told that you couldn't do those displays at the polls this year, that the clerks made the decision not to have any displays. That's
So there were displays on Monday night.
on Monday night,
Right.
and usually
And
those.
that was when the budget was voted, so there was
Yeah.
no budget vote on this, on Tuesday, so it's a bit odd. I mean, Economic Development, the Conservation Commission, there was some groups that had things on the way in.
Right. Anyway, so I was told that the reason for that is because there are so many groups that asked for display that it was getting cluttered and it was hard for access in that tiny
Interesting.
lobby. But I do think it's appropriate for town committees and commissions to present work. And that maybe if you limit it to that could take care of it. It's a very important time for committees to cross-pollinate.
Yeah.
So I valued it, and I think other committees value it. And I know if the town has something special to present, like the library, right? We had that display, or the wastewater treatment, that you want to use the time at the polls for letting people have another look at these things. So I just would encourage that. And I know you'll have another conversation about committees and commissions and their membership and structure, and that'll be coming too, which is not the point of my comments tonight, just that it's important to lift up the work of the committees and commissions and let them cross-pollinate when you can.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a great reminder. Thanks, Laura.
That's it.
I think I would just add that I think Mark gave a really good presentation at the town meeting, and the sound is better than it seems like it's ever been. My only comment about the budget, Dorothy was out checking in voters as they came in, and when the budget article came up, a number of people apparently went out and asked for copies, and they didn't have extra copies. And so Dorothy was trying to explain, sorry, this is, the other thing is it's about time at the town meeting. Having a lot of time for department heads to present things works against the time that, and the town report, we used to send this out to everybody, but that cost a lot and ended up in the dust recycling bins in a lot of cases. But the town reports have a lot of information about what the departments are doing. It's getting people to read it and getting it out in advance. So anyway, I just want to add compliments to how it went.
And I just like to add, I think it was really important to have a library presentation, and I think they did a really great job, and that was well received. That was kind of a precursor to voting for the budget. So
I just have to say how amazing it was. Brian and I were reflecting, we've never gone into a town meeting with that kind of a percentage increase.
Right.
And then to have not a single nay vote.
Yeah, that was shocking.
It was just, either that reflects a huge degree of confidence or a real anomaly in what we would expect.
Well, I worry to some degree that it reflects selection and the small number of people who show up for town meeting, right? We had probably 7 times as many people vote on Tuesday as showed up on Monday night. And we certainly would not have had a unanimous town budget if it was done by Australian ballot.
And I think that might be something we want to consider this next year, and is putting on the Australian ballot.
The problem being
that
town meeting will be compromised even more in attendance, right? It's a huge trade-off, and I think it's something that we certainly can discuss.
I think we should definitely talk about how to get more people at town meeting with either, and I know it's been tried before, but we haven't tried in a while doing it on a Saturday. And it might be, Cornwall's had incredible success since they moved it to a Saturday. They're getting so many more people and so many more young people. And it might be worth talking about. It also might be worth having a bake sale. Like really simple things that make people feel like the festive nature of the gathering, because everybody knows it's like your civic duty, which is wonderful, and like, yay, let's do our civic duty. But like, frankly, most people are tired at the end of the day, and unless there's some other little magical spark of community, like, oh, we're having a bake-off and you might win the grand prize. I don't know. I think there are ways we could entice people and shake it up a little and make it feel more exciting. Because I agree with your point, Andy, that it is a tiny sliver of the population who are actually voting on the budget. And it wouldn't be great if we could have more representation.
I think the auditorium is as full as it normally is, 2/3 full.
Sure.
I don't.
I would love to look for a larger venue because we needed it, right? There were maybe 150 residents in attendance. I counted a couple times.
He said the area indicated close to 200 in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, those are 10 people that should have.
Yeah, they've got it.
Yeah, town clerk ought to have that.
So I agree with Megan, and I agree with, what Fred had to say. But I think in a place with 150 people voting on a budget, the nays are never gonna put their hands up. They're just not gonna. Where if we did it, a larger percentage of the population would have the ability to vote. There's probably a lot of people that can't get to that meeting that night, and I think we would have a fair representation of how the budget's received.
Okay, a voter on the floor can request that there be a ballot on an item, including parts of the budget.
Right.
The difference is that at the Monday night town meeting, there could be some explanation of why that amount of money is requested. And you get more informed responses, more informed votes. And if people want to be able to vote in secret, there's a procedure for that. They can request to have a ballot on cutting the.
But don't you take that informed vote, don't you take that information you get on Monday night and use that to vote on Tuesday?
But I think what Fred is worried about
You
is
don't
that
have
people
all of the people on
come
Tuesday
on Monday.
receiving
if
the
they don't.
explanation
Sure.
of why we need money for IT or whatever it is we need this year.
I understand that.
Town meeting is also a unique experience, right? It is a time when every citizen is a legislator.
Yep.
Anyone can make an amendment.
Right.
Right? The whole populace
Yes.
is empowered in that forum in a way that they are not at other events, right? You cannot make an amendment to the Australian ballot on Tuesday. I really respect the sanctity and the history and the agency of town meeting, and I don't want to diminish it. I do not want to rashly go to an Australian ballot as so many communities have, but I would love to improve the turnout and have a more representative cross-section of our population taking part. I think this is a good discussion. I appreciate it, and I think I'm going to close citizen comment at this point. Oh, Kurt, please.
Hi, I'm Kurt Broderson from Middlebury. Two things. One, if you are doing committee assignments later on the agenda, it looked like it might be in one of the items. I wasn't sure. I am here to answer questions about the select board representative to the MCTV board, which currently is Farhad. And second thing I wasn't thinking of at all until just now, but it's a reminder that this is public comment, and that was really a discussion with comments from board to somebody, and you're establishing a precedent there, which I would be very careful of in the future. I don't like the fact personally that public comment doesn't have a two-way street, but I recognize that that's what it is, and I think it's important that we keep it to that. Because there will be longer meetings with more public comments that will be restricted in time, or someone will want dialogue but won't be able to have it. And if you don't set that precedent and keep with it, there will be problems with future meetings, I think.
Yeah, no, it's point well taken, and it would have been great actually to have added a town meeting debrief to our agenda, and maybe we'll do that in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt.
Jeez. Chastising
I
the
know.
first 15 minutes.
Yeah, right. My first agenda
I didn't
item.
give you a hand there, so
No, you all.
we're both fired.
So it goes. Oh goodness. All right. Next up, agenda item 6 at 7:15. Select board organization matters. So we have a couple housekeeping matters that we addressed at the first organizational meeting of each new select board. The first is to set our regular meeting dates.
Do we need to discuss it?
If there is any desire to not meet on the second and fourth Tuesday evenings, that's fine. Otherwise,
I'll move to set the select board's regular meeting date and times as second and fourth Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m.
Second?
moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I think that's everyone. The next piece is setting the newspaper of record. We have traditionally designated the Edison Independent as our newspaper of record.
So I'll move to designate the Edison Independent as the newspaper of record for the publication of official notices for the town of Middlebury.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or comment? All in favor? Aye.
Anybody can read these if they want to, and just kind of easy. He reads a lot, Izzy reads a lot, and sometimes they battle for it. But you can read these motions anytime you want to.
The first 6 months, no.
Very good.
I'm trying to make her a strong appearance.
Very good. The next item is appointing a Middlebury delegate and alternate to the Addison County Solid Waste Management District Board of Supervisors. By the bylaws of the Solid Waste District, as we are a host community for a facility, we are automatically on the executive board of the Solid Waste District. I have not been on that board in a couple of years since they purchased the property in New Haven for the transfer station there, but it's a good board. It's important work.
Have we heard from Diane Mott?
No, so we've called and we'll track down an answer from her, but I haven't heard from her as of today, so that's why that's still blank.
So we're gonna just appoint Rachel now?
Yeah, and I thought maybe we'll certainly get a response before the next meeting, and we could come back if you prefer. But Richard certainly responded right away. So
I would move to appoint Richard McCurr as Middlebury's delegate to the Addison County Solid Waste Management District Board of Supervisors.
Second.
Richard moved and seconded. Any comment or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Is the intent of the board to leave the delegate position open until we hear from?
Until next meeting.
Very good.
Yeah, advertise it as a vacancy if it stays vacant.
Okay. Very good.
Would somebody else would have a choice to step in also?
Sure.
Or
Potentially. The Solid Waste District has, I think, the power to impound the chair of the select board if no one is appointed from the town. They were talking about doing this when I was on there because there were some towns which did not put forward delegates. I enjoy the work. I could do it, but I'd have to reduce other committee assignments.
I'm curious what impounding.
Yeah, what do they do with you?
What is?
Sorry, maybe impressing is the word I meant. Forced into service is what I was looking for.
I like impound better.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Impressed, I think, is the naval term. Conscripting, sure.
I don't know.
Car.
Danielle, is there any trash?
It's very interesting stuff. Very good. Next up is our operating principles. I hope that everyone took the time to read through these. They're very important in kind of outlining what our responsibilities are as individual members of a board which speaks with one voice and which interacts with the town through our elected town manager.
I did read through it, but my question is it different from the 25-26?
I don't think so.
So it's pretty much the same, right?
Yeah, I don't think that we would amend this in secret. We would have to do that as a board.
So then I'll move to adopt the 26-27 operating principles of the Town of Middlebury Select Board.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comment or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Fantastic. Moving right along.
Fred, were you reluctant to vote
Well,
on that?
the third whereas says we've amended the town charter accordingly. I would just say it's as provided in the charter, but maybe it's because I'm working on amending the charter right now, but we didn't amend the charter for these principles. It's already provided in the charter.
We could re-adopt these at any time, Fred, if you'd
that's
like
a
to
detail.
bring
It's
forward
just-
amendments.
I hesitated because I was reading that.
Sure.
Fan of grammar.
Yeah, I like consistency in written documents. Next up is appointing annual Green Up Day coordinators. We have staff members from Malt who have stepped forward for this.
Yep, both
Fantastic.
Kevin and their AmeriCorps staff member.
And it's on May 2nd. That's Green Up Day.
Fantastic. I'd entertain a motion to appoint these people.
I move to appoint Kevin Fox and Haley Snyder as the Town of Middlebury's Green Up Day coordinators for 2026.
Fantastic. Moved
Second.
and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, the next one is a little more substantive. Select Board member committee assignments. We had a sheet included of the prior assignments. And I think we should use that as a starting point to discuss changes.
I have some recommendations. Andy and I talked about this a little bit, but I, for one, think that Danielle would be a great addition to the Downtown Improvement District Commission, DIDC, and I'd step away. I think you'd do a much better job than I would on that. It's a really important board. We just reconstituted it this past year, which was a difficult year, and you'll enjoy the members on it, and you are right in the Downtown Improvement District. So,
It's one of the, it's just gonna be just me.
Yeah.
This is one of the committee, the only committee that, well, not maybe only, but it's one of the committees that is designated who we have to have represent us, and it's one select board, has to be one select board member with 5 other members, 6
It's a total of 6.
Total of 6.
So we don't.
Some of them have to be business owners, some of them have to be
Property owners.
managing businesses. They have to be the ordinance, but it's not onerous. And I think I agree with you that as a business owner in the downtown, and the whole purpose of that was to engage downtown business people and give them a way to raise and direct the funds that would benefit the businesses and bring people into their businesses. And that's, you know more about that than
I apologize for not talking about it ahead of time.
No,
This would be a good one for you.
I looked over this and that was one that
I think you'd be, it's made for you. You'd be good.
okay.
I think I'm taking the only male off the entire committee. So. Oh, no. Bruce is on there. Okay. Bruce Baker.
First one.
Yeah, he does. He's married to one, so and he's in business with her too. So.
Okay.
Are there other committees that people are interested in joining that they're not currently on or would like to get off of that they are currently on?
Yeah.
So I have a couple of comments about.
I liked being I liked being a stand-in for Brian on the personnel
Yes.
committee, so I'd be happy to
Yes.
be the.
The third
Yeah.
standing member of
I
personnel.
like that.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
I got a comment about the Parks and Rec Committee.
Yes.
It's a name sitting there with my name and Isabel's name. It should be a defunct, it should not be a committee at all, because we have not met in 3-4 years. That committee is not a functioning committee, so I would rather not be on it, which has no purpose.
Is it likely that we will undertake revitalizing it in this year?
I spoke to Scott last time he was here.
Yeah.
And he said he's going to revive it somehow, but I haven't heard anything in the last 6 months still.
Okay.
And the DEI one is an ad hoc committee now, right?
Yeah, it's as needed.
As
correct,
needed,
yep.
so
It's-
just one,
Oh, it's ad hoc. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and the charter committee will hopefully convene its work this summer.
Well, hopefully, and it's by our next meeting this next month, we will vote to advance it to the select board and begin that adoption process.
Right.
We need to in order to act on it this year.
Which one you're talking about?
The town charter committee,
Oh, okay. yeah.
right? And so that will conclude at the point that we have a public vote on changes to the charter and bring it to the legislature.
I just would like to offer, with regards to the Middlebury Airport Communications Task Group, Brian asked me to serve on this because I had some connection with it in my earlier life.
Sure.
Danielle, you're a resident of East Middlebury, and East Middlebury is, and I would invite you, if you're interested, I don't want to thrust it upon you the way it was thrust on me, but if you're interested, I'd be happy to work with you on this. I'm just saying that the function of this committee has changed since it was originally created back when the airport was proposing a master plan and there was a lot more controversy and worry. I am trying to steer any comments or issues that people have regarding a proposed building or hangar to the zoning process, because that's the process that exists for people wanting to comment about proposed buildings or land use changes. We have no jurisdiction over aircraft when it's in the air or aircraft safety because of federal preemption by FAA. So it's the only thing that's left to regulate, and even that's limited, is in zoning. And there's already not a role for the select board in this. We've established a good website that provides certain information from VTrans about what's going on in the airport for people who are interested. So I'm working to transition this so that it functions not through the select board, unless, and people can always come in if they want to, but that's just a brief introduction, an invitation to you. If you're interested, by virtue of being in East Middlebury, where
Right.
people are more interested than the rest of town,
Right.
I would be happy to work with you to. But
I would suggest you talk to him about it. It's
That's what I was hoping to do.
pretty complex.
I don't think it is.
You don't think so?
Well,
Well, the history's complex, and you're the history guy. But.
yeah, all right.
Does this?
You can think about it.
It's certainly,
Could we talk about it?
Sure,
Okay,
absolutely.
Yeah, we can change any of these things.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, we are pointing for the year, but we have the ability to modify these assignments.
I just feel awkward. I'm named 4 times, I just want to share, spread the load here.
Yeah, well, I see your name on here a lot.
Yeah, I volunteered for infrastructure and energy, and then I came up with the idea about the charter update, and so that's my fault. But the airport one.
So with changes to DIDC and personnel, are there other comments or suggestions?
is there anybody interested in a different committee? I mean,
Right, that's the question.
I'm not volunteering for a committee, but I do have questions about Parks and Rec committee. I do kind of just feel like we should not let that one die completely. I think it's important to have it for lots of reasons. One of them being that last year we got so many volunteers who wanted to specifically do Parks and Rec from the community, and we were really looking for volunteers, and I felt like it was a bit of a lost opportunity that we turned those people away. So I feel like it might be worth figuring out what a Parks and Rec committee could do well in its next iteration, and how we could make that a useful part of the structure.
Yeah, I think about like the Friends of the Ilsley Library, right? Like a fundraising and an event kind of group that's kind of adjacent to the town but not in the town. And I think that there could be a lot of ways to harness people's energy there. People who aren't so interested in rec department policy, but maybe in doing things to improve facilities.
For sure.
Yeah.
That would be great to do.
Well, you
We'll
could
see.
lead a reset of that committee.
Last time it was active was when Terry Arnold was the director. Since then, we may have had like 2 meetings.
How long ago
Since
was
you-
that for?
Or 5, 6 years ago,
Oh.
7 years ago maybe.
yeah, well,
Okay.
I think she left when it came out.
That was before COVID, way before COVID.
Should we take any action on this now, or should we put it on a future agenda?
I'll refer to Mark. What do you think?
We've talked about it on the staff level, and I know it was on hold for quite a while.
Yeah.
We talked about maybe drafting some kind of new mission statement for the group, but we didn't really go through all the motions, so it was kind of put on hold during town meeting, but be happy to pick up that conversation again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Would you like to be added to the 2 existing members for
Sure.
thinking about revitalizing?
Sure. Yeah. Add me.
My understanding was that when the Parks and Rec Committee was active, they had more of a, that predated our professional staff in that building, so they had more of an active role in budgeting and management of the facility. So that's why we were thinking if we come up with a mission statement that reflects how the rec department operates now, it might be more useful.
Well, I think historically they represented that we could have a recreation program in the department without it costing the town anything. hasn't turned out quite that way, but I think that they have been successful in raising funds and getting community interest and building support for it. And that's particularly apparent for one particular part of the recreation world right now, which is the skate park. But I think they have their own committee working on the fundraising community support for that. I think committees to really work most effectively need strong staff support. Mm-hmm. So it has to work both ways. And I think where the recreation committee has not been so helpful for staff or working well with staff is if it devolves into members who have members of their family who are trying to enroll in programs, can't get on and enroll or something, and at that level, focusing on policy and raising money to improve recreation facilities is really what the focus should be, if we can make it that without it devolving into program complaints.
Yeah, not great when people are getting involved for their own self-interest, narrowly defined. For sure. Okay, so we're up to 3 changes, I think. Anything else people would like to do? I don't even know if there's a motion involved in setting these assignments.
I would move that we adopt the proposed assignments as modified this evening.
Sure. Moved.
Second.
And seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Fantastic. We are appointed. All right, next item, the annual select board retreat, meeting planning. The select board gets together outside of a normal agenda meeting 1 to 2 times a year to kind of think about big thoughts on specific topics. It's been housing, it's been library expansion, it's been housing again, it's been housing a 3rd time. My thought was, given the newness of the board and the confusion in the budgeting process, that having kind of a step back and a deep dive into municipal finance, an explanation of how the funds work, how the budget's put together, how we would like to see our quarterly reports from our finance director, that might be a good topic to for at least our first retreat of the year.
Yay, I love
Other
that.
thoughts?
I think that's great. We should do that.
Yeah, well, Andy and I talked about this. I think this is a great idea to go ahead and do that.
Maybe during that we can make our glossary of terms for our future town meeting. I'll take notes for the glossary.
That could be fantastic. Absolutely.
Because I think there's so many terms and places that come up during that would be really useful to simplify for the general public.
I think it would be better if we could have it earlier in the spring rather than later.
Fantastic. Are we agreed on the topic? Is this something we're all interested in?
We got a date.
Yeah. Fred?
It will be like a one topic retreat.
That was my thought. I thought that maybe we would get together for sandwiches in the small room at 5 p.m. Before a meeting in here at 7.
2 hours, yeah.
Right, so we've got a lengthy evening, hopefully a light agenda, and a deep dive on municipal finance.
I like the topic. My particular interest on it goes a little bit beyond just understanding where we are now, but how are we going to pay for some of the things ahead?
For sure.
A little bit better projection of our needs.
Yeah.
And how we're going to afford them.
Right.
Because we had a real challenging budget year this year, and I don't see that getting any better.
Correct. Likewise.
I would suggest, Andy's had a conversation with Mark, but I would suggest if you have any specific desires in the financial area, what you'd like to discuss, that you forward it either to Andy or directly to Mark, and he can just include it. Mark is aware of what we want to do, so.
Yeah, a little warning to staff before the meeting can certainly help them to be prepared.
Do we have a date in mind?
I had a date in mind. I was looking at our first April meeting, which I think is the 14th. Does that meet your suggestion for earlier, Fred?
What is it?
The 14th of April.
Wait, don't we do this on a time when we don't have an actual meeting?
I suggested that we do it prior to hopefully a small agenda regular meeting.
Okay.
So,
Wait,
been
that day
talking
we also-
with Mark and David today, and
Really?
talking about the schedule for the charter.
Yeah,
And that would be the night we would be hopefully presenting to the select board
yeah.
the work of the charter committee and just in general, summarizing it. It wouldn't be the whole meeting, but that was,
You're worried that the board will be tired after a
Well, I
retreat.
also have
no.
our solar site visit on that day. Did I put it in the wrong? It's
Oh.
from 3 to 4 on
you're
April
right.
14th.
From 3 to 4.
Yeah.
We can have a whole day of
It's the whole
select
day.
board fun.
Holy
I don't know
moly.
if we could, I mean, that's a full.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of hours with
It
you
is.
guys.
What's the time on that?
3
3 to
solar
4.
visits, 3.
Yeah, that's gonna be hard then, yeah.
so I think what we're going to talk about the presentation, I think it's probably just the summaries that we have, which we're working on a draft of, the schedule, and then we are thinking about 3 subsequent meetings, no more than 20 minutes each. It took your charter committee 8 or 9 meetings to grind through what we've done. So we're going to try to do this in bites and pieces that we can butt up to and hopefully digest, not all at once, over the next subsequent 3 meetings on the 28th of April and 9th of May. So I just want to let you know that we don't have to adhere to that slavishly, but we do need to get going on it in order to make the adoption schedule.
Sure.
We're going to adopt it this year.
Yeah.
Do you think the charter review committee needs to meet again after our March 24th meeting?
Depends how good work you do on the 24th, isn't it?
We could push off the charter presentation to another board meeting too.
Fred has counted backwards
Well,
from
I don't want to
proposed
I
vote.
don't want to displace the retreat, and that needs to happen at some point.
Yeah.
So,
But is it too much anyway with the solar site visit?
So what about the next one, April 28th?
I won't be available.
That's about 28.
sorry, Dan, did you say you wouldn't be available on the 24th?
28th.
The 28th, it wouldn't be. I'm here on May 12th,
Oof.
May 26th.
Yeah,
You're not here, Andy's not here the next meeting.
correct.
Well, is it 12th?
Would it be possible
March
to
24th.
do our solar
Andy's not
visit
here,
at
March
4 instead of at 3, so we could do it all together?
We've already
We
sent
can,
out all
yeah.
the notices certified mail, so.
Can we pick a different date so we can,
I mean,
We could just meet at 4 and maybe have a break for dinner after.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Right, we're
it's
here.
more like the doing the thing and then having an hour
Yeah.
and then doing more, like that feels weird, but if it was all
What do you think?
together, if it was,
So after the solar visit, coming here.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a long day for me.
it's a long day.
Yeah, I can't do that.
You can't do. Okay. Oh, we can look outside of Tuesdays.
I think it's outside will be a little bit more,
How about the 31st, Tuesday the 31st?
31st of March.
Of March?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have 31st of March or the 7th of April?
31st of March is wide open for me.
31st of March is doable.
the 31st of March is my daughter's 9th birthday,
Okay.
and she's making a big deal about it.
As is her want. Yeah, that's fine.
You said April 7th, you said?
April 7th?
That's doable too.
I could do the April 7th.
April 7th?
April 7th?
You're in town?
I'm in town. I'm in town.
April 7th? April 7th?
April 7th.
April 7th it is.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Wow.
What time?
So we don't have a meeting to schedule around. What time would we like to get together?
If we are eating here,
Yeah,
so 5 to 7,
I like 5 to 7.
yeah.
I like 5 to 7.
You don't have to meet here either.
We don't have to meet here. Yeah,
Oh.
it has to be warned. Public has to be invited.
Yeah, library, yeah, other groups don't.
But it could be anywhere.
And then- Yeah.
That's right.
Where else, you got any ideas?
We
Where
could
else
meet inside the incomplete library.
Oh my
Some
god.
hats.
I
would be
think
so
that
cool.
doesn't really have the
capability
capability
for us to meet in there right now.
Okay,
The tour
let's not
we
do
had
that.
recently, but
Yeah,
you might want to wait a couple more months before we meet in there.
We can do it here.
Meet at the bar.
yeah, here's fine.
So, April 7th?
We should get some tiki torches or something, though, so it feels like a retreat.
Right.
Put up some flowers, balloons.
Yeah.
Great.
While we're on the committees, circling back to one thing.
Sure.
Beth sent out a notice inviting me to reapply to be a fence viewer. Beth is ahead of it. I noted in the
That's a different meeting, that's different appointments, that's.
no,
that's
I know,
future.
but I hope we can, at our next meeting, have a little discussion before we advertise and about the vacancies and the current committees we have that are active and how we can strengthen those possibly.
Sure.
Before we invite people to
Defense viewers.
reapply and make it more challenging to sort our way through that. So I was just comment about scheduling for next agenda
Okay.
before we warn, if we can restrain Beth about, we usually have the appointments in later April anyways.
All right. We have planned a select board retreat. The next item is police Durango.
Yeah, so this is an add-on.
This was the main.
So this is the last minute item. I'm sorry to add this to your agenda this evening, but back on February 17th, we totaled one of our cruisers, 201. And I was hoping to get some feedback from all of you tonight. So car 201 was a Dodge Durango. It was deemed totaled by VLCT, our insurance provider. The car was assessed at $40,013 by VLCT, so that's what we'll be receiving from them as a reimbursement. We've been unable to find a replacement Durango locally. We did find one in Ohio. It's a police package vehicle. Opting for a Durango would allow us to transfer all of the equipment from the current vehicle, which is only, I think, a year old at this point,
Wow.
to this new vehicle. So that's why we're hyper-focused on finding a replacement, a match for that. I know Ohio is not ideal. The cost of the vehicle replacement is $44,137. That includes delivery from Ohio to Middlebury, which leaves us a gap of about $4,123. Our purchasing policy exempts emergency purchases, which I would consider this to be. We don't have any spare police vehicles right now. So if we have a vehicle out for maintenance or a vehicle or two are being used for training purposes or for other reasons, it leaves us in a real bind. So it's time sensitive. We were only able to find this one. And the way I read our purchase policy, and I suppose it could be interpreted in different ways, but under emergency purchases, it says that the town manager may award contracts and make purchases for the purpose of addressing a public emergency without initiating a bid process. Emergency expenditures may include immediate repair or maintenance of town property, vehicles, and equipment if the delay in such repair or maintenance would endanger persons or property or result in substantial impairment of the delivery of important town services. It doesn't specifically say, even though it's titled emergency purchases, the examples given are repairs and maintenance.
Right.
So coming to you tonight for approval to proceed with the purchase of this.
So that's a brand new car.
It's
we're
a
getting.
brand
Is it new or is there a warranty?
It's a brand new Durango.
How does it get here?
it will be delivered by the dealer. I'm assuming they'll put it on a truck and ship it this way.
So we are on the hook for $4,100, right?
Right. We can fund the gap.
Is this one of our hybrids?
No.
Is this one of the hybrid ones?
No.
So I know it's an unusual ask, especially last minute. But this all just came together this afternoon, so.
And you were saying the cost saved by staying with the Durango is $20,000 in kit cost?
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. It's actually 12.
Okay.
So by transferring the equipment from this vehicle or damaged vehicle to the new vehicle, VLCT has said that they will pay to do that work, and it also saves the town $12,000 in equipment. So it makes sense financially for us to move in this direction for that reason as well. Thank you for reminding me.
Sure.
I forgot about that important point.
I'll support that.
Okay. A motion to approve the emergency
Yeah, I
purchase.
make a motion to authorize Mark to make that purchase.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you. So I would also like to come back to you with a revised policy, just to be clear that purchases are actually exempt, not just repairs and maintenance.
It
so
is
that in the future.
Peculiar that an item titled purchase does not mention purchase in the specifics.
Yeah, it's just badly worded.
Yeah,
I believe that was the intent, but
Yeah.
just
right.
thank you. I'll go ahead and approve that purchase this evening so that they can reserve the vehicle and get it here as soon as possible.
Is there a timeline for that? Is there a timeline?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't have the answer to that question, but I can find out and shoot you an email.
Our last item on the agenda is select board member concerns. Starting on the outside with Fred Dunning.
I was not quite ready. No, I think I've said what I wanted to say about the compliments about town meeting, and I'll collect my other thoughts together for the next meeting.
Very good. Megan James?
Yeah, I just wanted to say for the record that we only have 3 people on the select board who are in their first terms. Fred, myself, and Danielle.
Izzy's really on her first term.
Izzy's on her second term.
You were appointed one, and then you're on your
This
first
is
term.
your
You've only been elected once, right?
No, this is my second time
This is
being
her second
elected.
term.
Really?
She
I
was,
apologize.
yeah, she was elected when I was elected in
Whoa.
her second term.
Well, so, and I
Yeah, thanks.
have attended a lot of select board meetings earlier in my life, but this is my first elected term.
Of course, of course.
Yes, thanks, Fred.
Because election to public office confers wisdom, right?
Of course.
No.
Yeah, obviously.
No.
Neither does seniority.
Izzy?
Welcome Danielle, and thanks to the town clerk's office and all those who volunteered at the polls, at town meeting. It was
so much
great.
fun.
We got a lot of positive feedback from the Board of Civil Authority, and addition to that, like the Justices of Peace, when Karen sent out a thank you email to all those who volunteered, it was received right back to the town clerk's office that it went smoothly from the volunteers' perspective as well.
Yeah, very good. Farhad?
Yes, we can do for you.
Bring me your concerns.
Yeah, a lot of compliments about how smoothly the town meeting went. A lot of people came to me and told me it was very smooth. A lot of people were surprised that the budget passed the way it was passed. A comment about the seating was, I don't think was very optimal the way, first of all, we were very tight spaces for us to sit. And we had talked about this previously, that when we sit in one straight line, there's no line of sight. I can't see what Brian is going to say or something. It has to be a little bit of an arc. So we have a sense of a connection between us, I think.
That's a great tip.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a really
And there were
Slide back, look at
there were
Yeah.
there were a couple of comments about people not able to find out on the TV channel, they couldn't find the meeting for them to watch. I don't know if that, they went to the channel, what is the channel? 1071. And a couple of people told me that they couldn't get it on there, so I don't know.
But it's only on Comcast.
On Comcast?
Yes, only on Comcast.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, and congratulations. Not to you three.
Whoa. With that, I don't have anything.
Following the seating, thanks, Dan. Danielle, welcome. Any comments or concerns?
I'm just taking it in.
Very good. So when I take notes, I always use initials in order to preface whose ideas there. And now I have a problem.
Oh, DB.
Yeah,
DB and Danielle and Dan.
yeah,
Yeah.
DB1,
yeah. So it goes.
DB1.
I've run into this at work as well. I have
What are your
two
middle initials?
JFs.
So before I forget,
E.
so we have to take a picture before we forget.
Yes.
And an opportunity for you to connect with any of us if you need to learn anything. If you have any questions about how things go, please reach out to any one of us. We'll be happy to sit with you for a coffee at Flatbread at your cost.
Oh, he's good tonight. Really
On
good.
fire.
Shouldn't need to serve coffee.
I was fasting already.
Very good. Yeah, and it's come up that we need to do better knowledge transfer and process transfer with new board members. And I will be sending out suggestions about how we get together in non-quorum quantities to discuss our thoughts and processes.
Wasn't Megan gonna come up with a matrix?
Oh, I have a matrix.
Oh, it exists.
About matrix? Oh, you
I have a
have?
matrix. So, yeah, I will happily transfer my matrix to Andy's
Sure.
computer so he can send it out, or I can send it out.
You can send out, I think, the idea is that we have scheduled breakfasts and potentially non-breakfast for people who can't do mornings. My thought was different locations around town, an event every 2 weeks with a different group of 3 people. Signed up. Yeah, I think it could be a really good way for us to know and trust each other and to be on the same page on things.
Okay. Can we still go to breakfast? I mean,
Yeah, sure. It doesn't have to be, just, yeah. Very good. All right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Move.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.